Lots of folks are using the new Ptolus chatbot, which I rolled out. It's based on ChatGPT, so I'm calling it the Iron Mage since this is a Ptolus-focused channel and it's on my ptol.us website. Thank you so much to all the past patrons who've been supporting me before I provided much of anything beyond just videos on the website. And then also thank you to all the new signups who've joined in order to gain access to the Ptolus chatbot. I'm only requiring the $5 a month Patreon membership because using the ChatGPT OpenAI system is not free. I actually have to pay for the answers that are generated by the Iron Mage chatbot. At some point, I want the bot to automatically show up for somebody as soon as they sign up through Patreon. I haven't got that programming done yet because I've been focused on making the chatbot as awesome as possible. So now I'm going to share my screen and I want to play with the Iron Mage a little bit to show you some of what it can do. As a disclaimer, this is an AI tool, so it's not perfect. ChatGPT has a big disclaimer even on its own website saying that AI can often be wrong. I've had this bot already make a few mistakes, but honestly, I am still loving using it for my campaign. So let's look over at the ptol.us website. Whenever you sign into the site, you're going to see the chatbot show up on the bottom right-hand corner. When it's closed, it looks like this. There's just this little chatbot, and then when you move around on the website, this thing just stays in that bottom right-hand corner. So you'll click on this, it'll open up, you'll see Iron Mage, and it says, hey, how can I help you today? Well, first, you can just ask campaign setting questions, like, are there any bathhouses in Ptolus where my players can get cleaned up? Let me plug that in there real quick, and then we will see what the Iron Mage has to say. Remember that the only information available to the bot at this time is the content from the Ptolus PDF campaign settings. So there's none of the homebrew locations that I've added, none of any of the stuff that I have created for my campaign, none of my play-by-post content, none of that is here. It's just the canon. So you can see here. In Ptolus, there's a couple of bathhouses where your players can get cleaned up. Row Bathhouse, it tells you where it is, tells you a little bit about it. Crystal Baths, there's another one. And then it's got just the information about it in there. Next, you can also tell it or ask it to tell you about a notable NPC your players might encounter. So you could say, who is a notable NPC my players might encounter in Old Town? And then this is going to think about it, and it's going to pull that up. There's named NPCs in the actual book, which hopefully some of you have encountered. There's man on the street sections for each of the areas of Ptolus, Old Town, Midtown, South Market, North Market, all of that stuff. So this is going to say, hey, in Old Town, a notable NPC your player might encounter is Dierna Halusian. I probably pronounced that wrong, but leader of the Knights of the Pale, right? Jevica Nor is another one. So it's looking through the book, and it's basing these recommendations based on what is in there, right? The next thing you could do is ask it for a description of the current happenings in one of the locations. For example, in the calling campaign, they are constantly going in and out of the Ghostly Minstrel. I'm sure your PCs are doing the same thing, so one prompt I like is describe the common room of the Ghostly Minstrel and give me at least one interesting NPC for my players to notice. So here's that prompt. I had it all typed out so you didn't have to watch me type it. I'm going to press enter. It's going to think about it. This is going to then pull from interesting NPCs that are actually in the book. But the chatbot also has the option, just like ChatGPT, to actually create stuff for you. So it's going to base it on Ptolus and then try to crank some stuff out. So look, common room is vibrant, lively space, located in Devil Square, whatever. So it says here, you can notice Terran Ursulato. This is kind of funny to me. Obviously, he is named as part of the Ghostly Minstrel location here actually in the website. This is funny. So I actually spelled Terran's name wrong as Talon in my original calling campaign. And so he is actually now a named PC played by a person in my calling campaign. So it's actually Talon Ursulato in our campaign. But you can see here, it gives you that little bit of description. It tells you a little bit about him, and it just gives you some of that flavor that you can go off of. Now, let's say you don't want to use a normal Ptolus named NPCs from the book. So you could take that prompt and modify it a little bit to say, describe the common room of the Ghostly Minstrel and make up one interesting NPC for my players to notice, which is not from the Ptolus book. Or actually, this should be who is not from the Ptolus book. So if I hit enter, it's going to think about it for a second. It's going to think about it for another second. Here we go. Is lively and enchanting space, blah, blah, blah. Laws are lined. Now, here we go. Interesting NPC. Varen Aldect is a half-elf wanderer who's recently arrived in Ptolus from distant lands. So there's a ton of tools out there. that basically, can generate NPCs and stuff like that. I've used a ton of those tools and I absolutely love them. If you even go to my d20.pub website, there's actually a list of generators on there that talks about, some of my favorite generators. So I used to do that, and I would have to then make up some interesting information about them, pull from that, whatever, and write it myself. I'll still do that from time to time, but this is really cool that it can kind of weave all of that stuff together, and hopefully that'll make your life a little bit easier. So then fourth, you can also ask the Iron Mage to give you a random encounter while your characters are traveling from one place to another. So for example, we could say, describe the walk from the Ghostly Minstrel to the Rogue Mood Trading Company and have one interesting thing happen for them to see while they walk. You could also have that be happen to them. You could specify, I want there to be a combat encounter. You could specify you want it to just be a random thing that they see like I have done, whatever. You can feed just about anything in here. So I'm going to click that. It's going to be thinking. So if you're not familiar with those already, so the Ghostly Minstrel is about here in Midtown, and then the Rogue Moon Trading Company is right down in here in the Star Crossing Plaza location. Right here. There we go. Sorry, there's too many red dots. The Rogue Moon. So here you go. Takes your players through the bustling streets of the Delver Square, where the energy of the Ventures merchants merge. They step into the cozy. They talk you through the route. It says after a short walk, they approach this. Now look, interesting encounters. They stroll along. They come across a sudden commotion. A street performer dressed as a whimsical jester is attempting to juggle. However, out of nowhere, a group of mischievous imp-like creatures, blah, blah, blah. So this is going to generate something different for each person that asks this, especially as you change the prompt. And so this is just another thing where you don't have to think of this. If you're having trouble coming up with this stuff on the fly, you can have the Ptolus chatbot work with you and do that for you. Also, if you haven't seen it before, I actually have a random encounter generator. So the random encounter list on the website is actually the list from the book, right? So this is just like a D like 300. So it's this giant thing. It has the encounter matrix, which is also in the book, so you can determine which number to pull from based on where they are. You can just roll a D317 or ask your something to give it to you and it'll spit that out. But I made that into this programmatic thing where you can do this Ptolus random encounter, and it actually does anytime that there's a dice roller. So this one would be like roll a D4. There's this many, or it says like roll a D20 to tell you the level. So this is a male common or whatever. And also there's this submit your own homebrew random encounter. So you can do those if you want. And then you can even do like generate a random encounter without the rolls rolled for you. So vampire spawn, that one didn't have one, whatever. And so you can even re-roll and it'll just keep making over. Hey, this is actually one of the homebrew ones. So check this out. Airship flying high overhead. I didn't plan this for the video, but this worked out great. So if one of these shows up, this is a homebrew. And if you click on this and open it in a new tab, then I actually have artwork. This is some of Tom Kartos' awesome stuff that he makes. And so I have some of these that are homebrew as well. Disclaimer, I do not have any of the homebrew content yet from any of my campaigns, none of that stuff. None of that's included in here. Like I said, it's just the Ptolus stuff. I will hopefully be adding that at some point. All right, so fifth, we can sometime soon, the chatbot will also be able to generate images for you. The ChatGPT system that makes images is called DALL-E, and it uses a completely different API than the content generating one does. So I'm working on that as well. I know there's a lot of ethics around AI generated artwork. I don't want to offend anybody. I always suggest trying to find artwork by real people who you can actually support. I support a lot of people on Patreon. Tom Kartos is one of those guys. Is absolutely phenomenal artwork, and so there's a ton of these people out there that we should be supporting them over AI artwork. And so I do not want to discount that there's a lot of angst and anger about this right now, but sometimes you need something that just doesn't exist. If AI can pop that out that will work for your campaign, go for that, but always please try to support real people over computers first. So eventually Skynet will take us over. Until then, hopefully they can figure this stuff out. So honestly, I just hope that the new chatbot is going to make it much easier for people to run a Ptolus campaign. This book is over 800 pages long. It's huge. It's daunting, but hopefully with the Iron Mage's help and having it by your side, it's going to make things easier. For all the folks currently using the Ptolus chatbot, please send me your feedback, good or bad. I just want to make this thing as awesome as possible for all you fantastic epic level narrators out there. And it's made my life easier. I am really enjoying it. My players are enjoying it as well. It's allowed me to move a faster pace with my play-by-post campaign, and it's just a really cool tool. It's not going to replace you as a narrator, right? I've seen some videos on YouTube where people are trying to do like one-on-one D&D play with the chatbot. I mean, maybe at some point that'll be cool. There were old text-based adventures that were kind of the start of our hobby and things like that. But honestly, it's still so much fun to interact with people. And so use this as a tool. Don't feel threatened by it. Just find a way to make it just supplement what you're already doing to make your already awesome game even more awesome. Oh, until next time, stay out of the shadow of the spire.